yourself a cold one.
They strike 'em, huh?
And listen to Ross Tucker break down the top college prospects on another tasty edition of The College Draft.
Yeah, it's Daddy Soda time here on the College Draft Podcast presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman. Most of you know that. 5 teams, 7 years, long time ago, but just enough so that I could be a broadcaster for CBS, calling NFL and college games, as well as NFL games on the radio for Westwood One. So here's what we do, right? During the season, we'll give you some prospects to keep an eye on, but also we're going to make our bets on a bunch of the biggest games in college football. Pre-draft, nobody better than my guy Emory Hunt of getting you ready for the draft. And then unlike other people, post-draft, we actually talk about every guy that got drafted. And Emory has his favorite free agent a lot of times for these teams as well. And we think it's great because then everybody gets to know exactly what we think of your entire draft class and the other teams in your division. Today will be the NFC South because huge news with the New Orleans Saints. So it makes a lot of sense to do that. After that, we will dive into starting to preview college football and the top prospects for the 2025 season. You can check me out on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. Probably your best bet to know when the show is posted is at Ross Tucker Pod on social. And that's also where you get the highlight clips of the best from the show. You can also watch on YouTube. More and more people do that. YouTube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. The star of the show is my brother from another mother, Emory Hunt. I don't say this lightly when I say he might be the only person that both loves football more than me and works harder than me. I'm not like giving him both of those titles, but there's a chance. There's a chance. Now, I said this before. I have kids and stuff, so it's not like a level playing field here, okay? But Emory, I got agents. We post stuff on social media, and there are agents saying Emory's everywhere. Nobody works harder than Emory. Tom Brady's agent, okay, was commenting on Emory, Juan Lozano, and how unbelievable a job he does. So check him out on social media at FBall Game Plan. He's also Football Game Plan on YouTube, and he's got that incredible draft guide, which is no longer a draft guide. It's now a preseason scouting resource, right? A lot of you are sickos. If you watch this show or listen, you probably got a little bit of sickness, right? A little bit of the football disease. You're going to watch a lot of preseason games. Every one is on NFL Network. Why don't you make sure you know who they are? Go to footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. I literally buy this for other people. It's that good. Footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. So Emory, before we get to the NFC South, and before we get to Derek Carr and the Saints and that whole thing, I saw you were at Giants minicamp. I also saw you asked some excellent questions. It was such a great question you asked of Brian Daboll, the head coach, about tryout guys and, how hard it is or what he tells them in terms of their uphill battle. I also saw you tweet out something about the tryout guys. Curious just to kind of have you first talk about your experience at Giants minicamp.
I always love this time of year, Ross, because you get to get back out there on the grass and you get to see football. And we know how it is where you have the optimism of the new season, the new practice, the new camp or whatever. But it's always bittersweet when you get out there and you watch these tryout guys because we know how it is. When we got to school, what we did first, before we got there, we looked at the depth chart, see who our opposition was, see how far I can move up the depth chart. Who do I have to pass? What do I have to do? How good this guy is? What's the strengths, weaknesses? And so for these guys, we know they've looked at this roster and looked at, there's no more spots available. So this is strictly a tryout. They'll have to cut someone to put someone on that makes it through a tryout. So it's already an uphill battle. And I can only imagine the mental things that they have to go through when you get there, you finally accomplish a childhood dream. You're in an NFL facility, putting on an NFL helmet, putting on an NFL number and jersey with your name on it, but this may be limited to this only opportunity. So you have to jump over that mental hurdle to go out there and perform, to have an opportunity to make the team, to come back for a training camp. So it's always a great thing to look at it from that perspective. Like, man, this has to be one of the more tougher things they've done mentally as a football player, to get out of their own mental way to go out there and perform. So I'm always, cognizant of that. I always want to, show those guys love and treat those guys with the utmost care and respect, because I know this may be the last time many of them put on a football helmet. And that's why I'm also always pushing for the different leagues and more opportunities, more expanded spring leagues and stuff like that, because there's a lot of good football players that won't get the opportunity to show that they're good football players because there's only so many spots.
Dude, you know what's so funny? It's not funny. I don't know. I'm like Pavlov's dog, Emory. When you just said the last time put a helmet on, my eyes immediately, I can't help it. Like, even you just saying that, last time put a helmet on, it's like, ding, my eyes fill up. Man. So, terrific point. Two things I want to say about that. Number one, it's like that as an undrafted free agent. Even if you get signed, I got signed back when there's only 80 guys. Now there's 90. That's a big difference. It's like a miracle I got signed, right? But I got signed as one of 80. And you look and you're like, okay, well, there's like 11 guys that were there last year. Like, how am I going to, and then how about this? I did really well, Emory, my first week with the Redskins at training camp, like really well. They pushed me down to third string. And I was like all confused and upset. And the O-line coach at some point said to me, he's like, Tuck, you're doing a good job. Don't think about it. I was like, okay. I had been so good in OTAs, and then that first week, they already decided they were keeping me in some capacity. They already knew. Like they knew. So they wanted to see what they had in these other kids to see whether they had a shot or not. So you don't really know all the time what they're doing. But I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm killing it. How did I just get demoted? You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm doing I'm not messing up. I don't know what just happened right there. So you don't know that. Okay. Secondly, I don't know if it's public yet, so I'm not going to talk about it yet, but we're going to have a guy on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast soon who was a tryout guy who got signed, which that is really hard to do because you said it, Emory, they start those tryouts, they start those rookie minicamps, they already have the 90 guys. So if they're signing a guy, they're deleting somebody else. If they're adding somewhere, they're deleting someone else. That is hard because they're basically saying what we saw from this weekend is better than all the work we did leading up to it from this other kid, right? That we thought he was going to get signed and probably gave him money. Probably gave that other kid some money. All right, so let's get into it, Emory. And usually I go alphabetical order, but we got to go with the New Orleans Saints first, your hometown team, your squad, because we got major news. I mean major news over the weekend with Derek Carr retiring from the NFL. Now listen, I said on today's Ross Tucker Football Podcast, I'm not 100% convinced he never plays again. He's 34 years old. I think there are financial reasons why he's retiring right now for both sides, but we'll see how it, maybe he does retire, but we'll see. I know this much. He's not playing for the Saints again, and he's not playing this year. So let's start there, Emory. I wonder if they knew that, Emory, if they would have taken a quarterback in the first round. Instead, they took Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas, and then they took, I guess they're presumptive. They say it'll be a three-man competition, but they're presumptive starting quarterback right now in Tyler Shough out of Louisville, which is just kind of wild. I mean, how the NFL operates. Like, Emory, can you imagine a couple months ago saying there's a, I don't know, some percentage chance? I doubt it, but that Shedeur Sanders gets cut? I doubt it, but let's say it's 5%. And Tyler Shough, there's like a 95% chance he's a starter. Like, I don't think many people would have said that.
Right, I've been like, Ross, you clearly have had one too many daddy sodas, right?
All right, so give me your Shough breakdown, because I don't remember it.
Here's the thing I said about Shough, right? Remember, I told you and told this podcast that people sleep on his athleticism, and the fact that he is someone and get out there and move, and you have to account for his legs in that regard. We saw him burn a couple of teams on key, down and distances because they forgot he can get out there and move. And you like, number one, that he stayed healthy for the full season, which he hadn't been able to do his entire 6-year career in college. And so, yeah, he's been in college for 7 seasons, but he's really only played 1 full season. So his football experience is not where you think it would be with someone that has been in school for 7 seasons. So that's why coming into this battle, it really is going to be a battle. Now, we can see it have it can be a true quarterback competition, and if that's the case, I firmly believe Spencer Rattler will win that job because he's the better player. But if it's one of these draft status competitions, well, Tyler Shough will win the job because he was a highly drafted player of the new regime and of the guy that was a former quarterback, and they want this guy to start, which is fine. But they know what you're getting into, right? Not all competition is the same thing in terms of competition. And Shough, to me, will have to be better versus pressure, will have to be better versus situational pressure, because we saw this during the season. Like, he had 29-3 or 23-9 touchdown interception ratio, something like that. But in the games versus Miami, in the games versus Notre Dame, in the games versus other top level teams, he just kind of was okay. And so you kind of worry about that, and maybe that could be attributed to his skill set, but also could be attributed to him just finally playing a full season and going through the ebbs and flows of the QB competition.
I love when the NFL schedule gets released. It's like you're planning when you're going to drink Labatt Blue and drink beer. You now know, Bills fans especially, but all of you, when you can do it, and then go to the website, snap a photo of your receipt, upload it instantly to rack up points for exclusive merch. I already got the incredible fridge. The next thing, I need to get that bag. I need to get the cooler bag. It's buy beer, get gear. Go to rewards.labattusa.com to sign up. All right. So what did you think of Banks? I forget.
Love that. Banks was my number 7 tackle, but I had an 80 grade on him. So I love this pick for New Orleans. And here's why. One, because people forget how dire the situation is in New Orleans in terms of the offensive line. Ryan Ramczyk is an all-pro and was trending toward a Hall of Fame track, but he had to retire. So you have that combined with Trevor Penning struggling, who was another first-round pick. So you're like, yo, there's a need up front. Fuaga is someone they drafted last year, doubled down on it, and they went and grabbed one of the best tackles in the class in Banks, who can also play guard. So if you do get great play out of him at tackle, and Penning proves to be like a Robert Gallery, better suited to play guard than tackle, now you really have rebuilt your offensive line, and whoever's going to be back there at quarterback looks good behind it.
3rd round picks, they had a couple of them. Vernon Broughton, the D tackle from Texas, and Jonas Sanker, the safety from Virginia.
Broughton was my number 4 D tackle, and Sanker was my number 4 strong safety. So I love both of those selections. And when you think about Broughton and they're going to a 30 front, you need guys that can play in that 30 front. Broughton can do that. And so I think for Broughton, being 6'5", 313, can kind of play a 5 technique in that position. I kind of would like them to kick down, their current Cam Jordan into more of a 5 technique. We kind of play that Cal along with Brian Brzee. Like, that's a very formidable defensive front. Sanker, to me, out of Virginia, a very underrated player. Good ability in the shallow area of the field, so gives them another solid defensive back, and which was another area of need for New Orleans.
Fourth round, they had a couple more picks. Danny Stutzman from Oklahoma and another Louisville guy, Quincy Riley, the corner.
Stutzman, solid player, inside linebacker, kind of stiff athletically, but very good, nonetheless productive at Oklahoma. Riley was my number 11 field corner, and Riley is a dog. Has ball skills, has toughness. He was banged up this year, so you didn't really get to see the full onslaught of Riley, but you saw glimpses of the old Riley at the Senior Bowl, and the Saints got a steal here with Riley.
They had 3 more picks, Emory. 6th round, Devin Neal, running back from Kansas. 7th round, Motival, a tight end from UCLA. I don't remember that guy from the UCLA-Hawaii game either, to be honest with you. And then an edge rusher, Fadil Diggs from Syracuse.
You look at Devin Neal was my number 6 running back, 78.5 grade. It's funny, man. Like, their backfield is loaded. Because you look at some of the undrafted free agents, and one guy in particular, Marcus Yarns out of Delaware, I called this game versus Monmouth. Man, they are good in the backfield now. So those 2 rookies, Neal has the wiggle, did everything for Kansas. Yarns has the ability, if you want to line him up as a slot receiver and just let him go and eat there, he could, because he's explosive, he's dynamic. So I thought they knocked out the park there. And even as an undrafted free agent guard, Torricelli Simpkins out of South Carolina was my number 9 guard with a 77 grade. So I thought that was a great value add right there.
Let's talk Falcons. They made some moves. People said they needed pass rushers, and they must have agreed, Emory. I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago when we reviewed the first round. They only ended up making 5 selections. The first round, they took Jalen Walker and listed him as an edge out of Georgia. Then they trade next year's first-round pick to get James Pierce, who my buddy Dane Brugler told me was not on a lot of boards, which I think is interesting. I always wonder, it's unfortunate, but they have more information than we do in terms of the off-the-field stuff. Your thoughts on those 2 guys in the first round?
Walker was my number 1 outside linebacker as a Sam backer, so kind of a rush in. And Pierce is my number 2 edge. So both guys got 80 grades. So I love those fits for Atlanta. Even moving forward, Xavier Watts, my number 6 combo safety with a 77.5 grade. My number 2 combo safety they took after him, and Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma. So right with an 80 grade. So I'm loving what the Falcons did defensively, because that was the issue. Now you look at what they did undrafted free agent wise. Kobe Bryant, number 6 boundary corner for me. My number 3 guard, Joshua Gray out of Oregon State. Number 7 slot receiver with a 77.5 grade, Nick Nash. Number 4 H-back, and Joshua Simon out of South Carolina. And my number 9 strong safety out of Iowa State, and Malik Verdon. So, listen, the Falcons did a phenomenal job. This defense will look significantly better with what they have already in tow, and sprinkling in these talented rookies. Outstanding draft, A+ all the way for the Falcons.
You know what's interesting too, Emory? It's like, and I'm okay with this, they decided we need to get better at edge rusher. We need to get better at safety. We might not be right. They doubled down at both. I am fine with that. Worst case scenario, I guess, is they both aren't good. But we know the draft is a lot of times it feels like a 50-50 proposition. So if you take 2 guys, there's a pretty good chance that at least one of them's good, and you have a good player at that position. If it happens that they're both good, well, that's a good problem to have. Then you can figure it out. It's not like, oh no, we have 2 good safeties that are rookies. We have 2 good edge. Like, that's no problem. Trade one or whatever. Like that. Teams have done that at tight end. The Ravens have done it a couple times. It was Pitta and Heap?
Yeah, I think Todd Heap.
No, it was Pitta and somebody. Pitta and Ed something. Ed Dixon.
Ed Dixon, yeah.
Pitta
Oregon,
and Ed Dixon, and then Likely and Andrews. No, was it Likely and Andrews?
It was Likely and Kohler.
Likely and Kohler, yeah. And the Ravens double up all the time, and it works. I like it. I got no problem with that. All right, let's move on to the rest of the division, and let's go with the Carolina Panthers, Emory. The Carolina Panthers, obviously, they took T-Mac, Ted McMillan with the first round. I got to be honest with you, I don't remember what you thought of him. What was your grade and eval of T-Mac?
He was my number one X. So, and with an 80.5 grade. Listen, for someone that's that tall, that big, 6'5", 215 or whatnot, that can play inside or outside, you want that. And people underestimated his ability to run after the catch. So he doesn't have to win the 50-50 deep shot all the time. You can throw him a slant, and he's weaving his way through the defense and coming out on the other end and pull away from guys. It's a fluid athlete with elite level hands. So that's the number one guy. And then to your point, they doubled down on the edge back to back with Nick Scorton, who I think is one of those solid, I call them pig rushers, where they're like squatty, 6'2", 250, gets underneath the pads and able to walk guys back. They got him out of A&M. And Princely Umanmielen out of Ole Miss was a guy they doubled in and got back as well. Then they got my number 4 running back and Trevor Etienne out of Georgia, who has great vision, ability to see it front side to back side. Reminded me a lot of Kenneth Gainwell and how he ran the football. Loved his ability. And double down on defense back to back. Lathan Ransom, 76.5 grade, 5th ranked strong safety, and my 6th ranked nose tackle in Cam Jackson out of Florida. So doubling down on defense. And then the last pick, I know they got Mitchell Evans out of Notre Dame, was my number 8 H-back. I thought he did a good job in the blocking department, and wrapping up with Jimmy Horn, who I said is like Kavontae Turpin, and we just based off the reports we heard out of camp, he's tearing it up. But here's the thing, Ross. When we talk about draft, we always talk about the undrafted free agents. Number 6 guard in Luke Kandra out of Cincinnati. Number 6 ex-receiver Kobe Hudson out of Central Florida. If he just had good quarterback play, he gets drafted because he was outstanding, killing it at the Hula Bowl. And then you look at further down the list, they had a lot of undrafted free agents. Bam Martin Scott, linebacker, outside linebacker, who was my number 13 guy. I thought he was outstanding. Jared Harrison Hunt of SMU, inside defensive lineman or interior defensive lineman, 15th defensive tackle. So again, I like what they did. Got some guys that they can kind of piece together on defense and have a good chance to make the roster. But their draft, combined with their undrafted free agents, I thought was A+.
Love it. All right, what about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Their first round pick surprised some people with them going with Emeka Egbuka, the receiver out of Ohio State, even though they re-signed Godwin this offseason. Emory, what was your breakdown of Egbuka?
It doesn't matter if he's playing inside or outside. He finds the chains and moves the sticks for you. He's a fantastic receiver. He's going to be a long-time pro because of how savvy he is, and that's just how they're well coached out there at Ohio State. He was my number 3 slot, 80 grade. Number 3 slot corner was the 3rd round pick, or the 3rd pick, Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State. Benjamin Morrison, the 2nd pick, was my number 4 boundary corner, 77 grade. So you see how they're going so far. David Walker out of Central Arkansas, number 7 edge rusher, 78 grade, killed the Senior Bowl. They got my number 4, 3-4 defensive end in Elijah Roberts out of SMU, and my number 2 slot receiver in Tez Johnson. We talked about him out of Oregon with an 82 grade. So listen, the draft class itself of the drafted players, A+. Undrafted, number 4 center Jake Majors out of Texas with a 77 grade. I was a big fan of his. I thought that Texas offensive line was excellent. And so when you look even further down, Shiloh Sanders, I'm glad they signed him because I think he could be an outstanding core specialist and a situational blitzer because of how quick and his twitch is off the ball and his acceleration. And lastly, Warren Peoples. I tweeted about him before the draft as a guy to watch out of southeastern Louisiana. No one knew who he was. They signed him. Outside linebacker, pass rusher, 74 grade. I thought he was phenomenal.
Love it. Fantastic stuff. The Egbuka thing, I think they were 0-4 last year when they didn't have Godwin or Mike Evans, right?
Right.
So I think they realized, like, we're a passing football team. We need receivers. Godwin's had an injury history now. Mike Evans is not getting any younger. It's remarkable what he's doing, but he's not getting any younger. The Morrison thing is interesting, Emory. How much of that do you think was his health? Because before he got hurt, People were talking about him like he was the best corner at Notre Dame since Todd Light.
It's crazy because he was out there playing and it was like, oh, he's playing really well. Then it was like, oh, he got an injury. It's like, well, okay. But, I mean, if you knew this and he still played well, I think that's exactly what it was. It was the injury that knocked him down. One more corner, Roman Parody. People didn't know who he was. Out of Ohio, was a late add to the draft class because of the eligibility. Fantastic corner they got as an undrafted free agent.
You got to check this guy out. He's got all the undrafted free agents. Do the other shows? No. Do the other draft analysts? Nope. Did they go to Giants minicamp? They did not. At F-Ball Game Plan on Twitter. I am at Ross Tucker NFL. We are at Ross Tucker Pod. I have no idea what division we'll do next week. Kind of depends on what the news is. If your starting quarterback retires, we'll probably do that division. The keg is kicked. We're all tapped out.
Thanks for tuning in to College Draft. Make sure to also check out the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Even Money, and Fantasy Feast, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.